A dog barks desperately at a pregnant woman, circling her, pawing at her gently, then dashing a few steps away before returning. Emily, though nervous, feels something strange. The dog isn't threatening her. He's trying to tell her something. But what could a stray possibly want from a pregnant woman walking alone? Emily stood frozen, unsure of what to do. The dog barked louder now, not aggressively, but with urgency, like someone screaming for help in a language she couldn't quite understand. Every time she tried to turn back home, he blocked her path, then dashed a few feet ahead and looked back, tail wagging rapidly, pleading with his eyes. It was as if he wanted her to follow him. She called out, "Are you okay, boy? What do you want?" But he just barked again, pawed at the ground, and ran in circles. A couple of neighbors peeked from behind curtains, watching the commotion but not stepping out. Then the dog did something unexpected. He grabbed gently at the hem of her coat with his teeth, not to harm but to pull. It startled her, and she stumbled slightly. That's when she noticed. The dog's chest was heaving, his paws dirty and scratched, like he'd been running for miles. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. Emily hesitated, but then took a shaky step forward. The dog immediately turned and ran a few paces, then looked back. He was guiding her, and whatever it was, it couldn't wait. Emily followed the dog through winding sidewalks and across a small patch of woods just behind the neighborhood park. Her heart pounded, not from exertion, but from a rising sense of dread. The dog would stop every few feet, ensuring she was close behind, then dart forward again. About 10 minutes in, they reached a clearing near an abandoned tool shed, tucked behind overgrown shrubs and weeds. That's when Emily saw it, something glinting in the sunlight. A cell phone, shattered. Lying next to it, a handbag half covered in dirt. The dog whined and pawed at the ground near a shallow mound of earth. Emily's breath caught. She reached for her phone with trembling hands and dialed 911. "I think I found something. Someone," she said, barely able to form the words. She knelt beside the disturbed ground just as the dog started digging frantically. Within seconds, a limp hand surfaced from the dirt. Emily gasped and staggered back, hands covering her mouth. The dog barked wildly now, as if urging her to act faster. The dispatcher tried to calm her down, but Emily was already sobbing. She had no idea who was buried there. But one thing was certain. This wasn't just an accident. The police arrived within minutes, sirens piercing the quiet air of the park. Emily stood frozen near the scene, the dog still growling lowly at the ground, refusing to budge. Officers quickly roped off the area with yellow tape and began their work with grim faces. Detective Harris, a seasoned investigator with sharp eyes and a soft tone, approached Emily. She explained everything: the dog's strange behavior, the barking, the digging, and finally what they had found. He nodded, expression darkening with every word. Crime scene investigators began photographing the scene, carefully brushing away dirt to reveal the face of a young woman, bruised and lifeless. One of the officers quietly muttered, "She's been here for at least 2 days." That made Emily's stomach twist. The dog, clearly distraught, lay down beside the body, resting its head near the woman's hand. Everyone on site went silent. This wasn't just a stray leading them to a crime scene. This dog knew her. Detective Harris crouched next to the animal. "He's been trying to tell us something," he said softly, "and we ignored him until now." Emily looked on, shaken. She had a sinking feeling that this was just the beginning of a much darker story. As the forensic team worked deeper into the soil, another object was uncovered, something small, metallic, and stained. It was a locket, half buried in the dirt. One of the investigators opened it carefully. Inside was a tiny picture of a woman holding a baby, and on the opposite side, engraved initials: ELM. Emily gasped. She had seen that woman before. It was the same face she had noticed earlier on a missing persons poster at the local grocery store. A pregnant woman had gone missing just a week prior. Her name, Leah Morgan. Detective Harris immediately radioed for the missing persons file. Everything was now moving quickly, with officers combing through the nearby area. Meanwhile, the dog still hadn't moved. He lay beside the woman's body like a guardian, whimpering softly every now and then. One officer gently approached the dog with a water bowl, but the dog refused to leave her side. That's when another officer made a chilling discovery: a blood-stained cloth just 10 feet from the body. It looked like it had been stuffed into the ground in a hurry. The pieces were beginning to come together, but the full picture was still shrouded in silence, and the dog might be the only one who knew the whole truth. The officers continued to work around the area, but the dog remained fixed beside the body, his eyes following every movement with an intensity that unsettled the detectives. It was clear that the animal knew something they didn't, something that made him so determined to stay. But what? Detective Harris approached the dog, crouching down to get a closer look. "Hey, buddy," he murmured softly. The dog turned his head, meeting Harris's gaze with an intelligent, almost pleading look. The dog didn't bark or whimper. He simply stayed there, his focus unbroken. Then, as if on cue, the dog suddenly stood and walked a few paces toward the tree line, his tail wagging lightly. Harris stood up slowly, following the dog's lead. With each step, the dog looked back at Harris, almost as if to say, "Come on, follow me." The officer crouched down again, examining the ground where the dog had stopped. There, hidden beneath a pile of leaves, was a hidden backpack. Harris's heart raced as he carefully unzipped it. Inside were disturbing contents: a phone, a torn piece of clothing matching the victim's, and a wallet with Leah Morgan's identification. The dog had just led them straight to the most important clue they could have hoped for. The discovery of the hidden backpack sent shockwaves through the investigation. Detective Harris carefully extracted Leah Morgan's ID, her wallet, and the items that seemed to tie her directly to the scene. But something didn't feel right. Why had the dog led them here? Why had he stayed by her side, unwavering through the search? As Harris flipped through the contents of the wallet, a faint memory of the earlier phone call with Leah's mother resurfaced in his mind. The mother had mentioned that Leah was pregnant, due in just a few weeks. Harris felt a pang of discomfort, the pieces of the puzzle starting to shift in an uncomfortable direction. The dog, still standing close by, glanced at him again. Harris couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than just a clue. Something deeper, something only the dog seemed to understand. His hunch was right. The forensic team had made a shocking discovery just moments later. Leah's pregnancy had been concealed, but not for the reasons they'd thought. She'd been carrying twins, and the tragedy that had unfolded was far more complicated than anyone could have guessed. The dog's protective instincts, his unyielding loyalty, had guided them to a devastating truth, one that shattered every officer present.